Most people think you need a huge salary to grow your net wealth quickly. I proved that wrong. Over just 2.5 years, I tripled my net wealth without changing jobs. Today, I'm going to share with you the exact maths and habits that made it possible. This is my actual story, and not just if you make 8% per year in the stock market, you'll have 3 million at age 65 type of theory. So how did I go from this to this? My secret here isn't because of a new job with a higher salary or a massive pay raise. I'm going to walk you through the 7 main factors that contributed to my growth, give you a peek into my net wealth system, share what I've learned, and show you where I'm heading next. Net wealth or net worth is simply all of your assets added together minus your debt. I update my net worth tracker every month, so I have accurate data which will include both market fluctuations as well as my actual saving and spending habits, as well as when I was able to make some extra income every so often and save it too. And for some more context into my personal numbers, I am a passive investor, and so I spent the majority of these 22,000 hours building up a really large emergency fund, which I don't necessarily need, but I did do this for a very specific reason, which I'll get into soon. I started with a small investment portfolio in 2020 when I was learning and actively investing to try learn faster. And in the last 6 months of this journey, basically from the market downturns at the beginning of 2025, I've been able to dollar cost average my monthly savings into the stock market once I was happy with my emergency fund size. So as you can see back to the graph, my starting point was not zero, which means that I already had some compounding working in my favor through interest, unrealized gains, and dividends. And I'm sure you've all seen those videos on the first $10,000 is the hardest, and that saying is absolutely true. The first step in my tracker is listing all my savings, checking or deposit accounts, and then my investments. Most of my cash is in a high yield savings account with a small amount in a foreign currency checking account, which unfortunately doesn't earn interest. The rest of my wealth is in an investment account, mostly US and global market ETFs, a few individual stocks, and a small crypto portfolio. Sorry, I know it's actually not that exciting, and I don't have any debt, so this is what makes up my total net worth. I converted all my assets to the same currency, then compared monthly totals in 2023, 2024, and 2025. That's where the 22,000 hours comes from, roughly 2.5 years since graduating. Over this time, my net worth grew by 193%, essentially tripling. If you are interested, comment down below and I'll share my top 5 performers over this period. And if you have been enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's talk about the key factors that worked. I grew up in a middle-class household where frugality was the norm, and that mindset laid the foundation for everything else. Factor 2 is I reached my target emergency fund before heavily investing. This meant that during market downturns, and even when my crypto portfolio was negative, I had no reason to withdraw. That kept me emotionally steady and committed to my passive long-term investing plan. And then just back to the point as to why I have such a large emergency fund, and that is because I wanted to qualify for the highest tier of my bank's reward program, which required a certain balance. This earned me extra income from the rewards back program on top of the high yield interest, so I just personally chose this over investing the money sooner. Factor 3, stock market investing, long-term diversified investing, is one of the most reliable paths to building wealth. I focused on broad ETFs across countries, industries, currencies, and I dollar cost averaged consistently. Factor number 4, I saved all my bonuses and overtime money, literally 100%. So even though my salary increased by about 12% each year over the 2.5-year period, it was on such a low base that I needed it to keep up with the cost of living. So instead, I just saved everything else I made. I do recommend that you save at least 90% of all bonuses, raises, or any other unexpected money that you come into. This fast-tracks your contributions and the compounding effect on your money, accelerating the growth into those triple-digit percentage returns. Don't let lifestyle creep in. And number 5 is I did my best to always save 15% of my monthly income. And while others in the finance niche may save 50% of the income, I don't yet have the earning potential on a low salary to be able to do this, but it is the goal for one day. And in the meantime, as my salary increases, I will adjust that saving percentage proportionally. But I do want to note that if I did everything else I spoke about, but only saved 0 to 5% of my monthly salary, I would definitely not be in the position to sit here and say that I tripled my net wealth. It was a huge contributing factor. Factor 6 is my tracking and goal setting system, which definitely helped me achieve this. I set monthly saving goals and an annual net wealth goal every year. But these are very personal. So a tip would be to create a this week, this month, and this year goal. Weekly and monthly goals should be action focused. So for me, my weekly goal is to track my spending by adding it onto a transaction-based spreadsheet, just so I know where my money is going, but nothing to do with only spending a certain amount. Monthly goals for me is just trying to save as much as possible and invest that as my emergency savings is fully funded, and to track each of my accounts' value on the last day of the month. And then yearly goals should be numbers-focused goals, like achieving a certain net wealth or total savings, for example. And don't be scared to set reach goals. I set both a realistic and a reach goal for my net wealth every year. Another factor is that I took no days off. And although that might immediately sound like it's a lot of work, it's actually the opposite, because I didn't spend my time wasted on things that I just can't control, like inflation, the cost of living, investment returns, or market predictions. It's all about the mindset. Other important factors is that I paid no tax on my investment growth, only on my salary, overtime, and bonuses, since my gains were unrealized and my interest stayed below the tax-free threshold. And I started with some advantages: no debt, some savings from odd jobs growing up, a supportive partner that aligns with my financial goals, and a bull market. But luck is also when preparation meets opportunity, and you can create that for yourself. What I learned: financial strategists' predictions are usually incorrect, so don't give too much attention to the doom and gloom in the news. There is always market uncertainty, but the volatility is simply the price you pay for higher returns. If we all knew what would happen in the stock market, there would be no risk associated with it, as we would know what to expect. And if there isn't risk, then there isn't reward. Pick a method that both works for you and keeps you highly motivated to continue on this path. From here, I plan to start contributing to tax-advantaged retirement accounts and also to increase my monthly investment contributions. This isn't about perfection or timing the market. It's about being consistent and making intentional decisions over time. And if you stuck around long enough and are wondering where the 22,000 hours came from, well, that is roughly 2.5 years from the first month that I started working after university. So that is January 2023 till July 2025. And the figures plotted on the bar graph is exactly my net wealth recorded every month. And yes, tripled is not clickbait either. It is a 200% gain from my starting point. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at my journey that was a bit different from the norm. Subscribe to the Money Minded Co. And as always, stay money minded.